So Shari, welcome back, Shari. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Everybody can hear me okay? All right, I'm assuming yes. So you're stuck with me for another hour. I'm so glad to be back with all of you. Today, I'm going to focus on a couple of things. Self-care, and we're going to talk about what that really means, and then some tools that you can use with your clients. Some are specific to kids. Most are adaptable for both adults and children. All right, so let me do just a quick little summary of what we talked about last time. We really sort of delved into the brain and the mechanics of the brain. Frontal lobe up here has a filtering system, isn't completely developed till we're in our mid-20s. Language and thoughts are further back. So is the amygdala and hippocampus. If you remember, amygdala holds the emotions. Hippocampus puts a timeline to those emotions. And that's a lot of the trauma work that we do with clients, is matching those two things up. You go back even further and you've got the survival brain, the limbic system. And we talked quite a bit about the limbic system. It is fully developed when we're born, and it only cares about our safety. That is it. And the reactions that live back there are fight, flight, freeze, faint, fornicate, or feed. And you probably see your clients in one or many of those survival reactions. Because of the nature of your role, it's going to shoot them back to their survival brains. They're scared. You have control over their lives. You stand for authority, and that's scary to our clients. And so they're automatically going to be back in their survival brains. We talked about how when people are in their survival brains, us included, the behavior becomes the language. We can't access our thoughts and our language when we're back here. So we act out what we're feeling. And, we talked about living in a society that often punishes behaviors, right? When sometimes that's the only language our clients have to tell us what's going on with them. We moved into the importance of connecting before correcting. Okay, connecting with ourselves, connecting with the person we're interacting with, then correcting the behavior. Because the only way to get from back here to here, where our brains are online again, is through safety. That's it. All right. And that's such an important piece of what we do in our work with clients, is providing that safety, isn't it? I gave a case study and explained the trauma that this client went through in her life, and then brought her into the talk, and she revealed that she's my mama. And she talked a little bit about what her therapist did with her to get her to a place of healing. So that's what we talked about last time. Were there any questions, comments, anything? Okay, I know several of you reached out to me afterwards, and I appreciate being able to have some conversations with each of you. All right, so if we could jump into self-care, and this is going to be very short, actually, but Claudia, would you mind going to slide 24? Okay. So we ended last time talking about the playbook, the lizard playbook, lizard brain when we're back here, and the wizard playbook when we're up here and our brains are online. Wizard playbook, we're able to connect to our breath. We stay in our conscious mind. We don't float back to our survival brain where we react, we respond, we choose the tool that we're going to use. The only way to do that effectively with our clients is to develop a practice of our own self-care. I am constantly amazed with providers that preach self-care to their clients when they can't really do it themselves. All right. And our clients pick up on that hypocrisy. They know if we're, walking the walk, or if we're just a bunch of talk. They can see that. So if you're wanting to teach coping skills and self-regulation and self-care, you've got to be good at it yourselves. Okay. I love this quote. I don't know who said it. Maybe one of you does, but let me read it. When we make ourselves as still as a lake, we see where the ripples come from. When we keep ourselves numbed on adrenaline and chaos, we do not have a current gauge of ourselves and our needs. And I'm going to just say this. I say this to foster parents, and I say this to providers like yourselves. We can get addicted to the adrenaline and chaos of this job. Okay. It's part of what makes us good. We're good in a crisis, right? Bring it. We know what to do. The problem with that, the double-edged sword of it, is that we can get addicted to the adrenaline, and it's hard often to come down off of that. How many of you go home at the end of the day and you're like, I'm so tired. I can't even reach for the remote. Whatever's on TV is going to have to stay on. I'm too tired to move. We're running on fumes, and we're depleted. I often, when I work with employees or I go in to do consulting at various facilities, I ask people to tell me what burnout looks like for them. Okay. We all know what burnout looks like in ourselves. But then I ask them to identify what the precursor to burnout is. There's always a precursor. Okay. For me, I start to leave dishes in the sink. I start to get snappy with people. And that's a cue that if I don't change things, I'm headed towards straight out burnout, right? We often wait a little too late to take a vacation, to take time off. We wait until we're burned out. And then the first 3 days of our 5 days off is spent in just recovery mode, right? Just trying to come down off of that adrenaline and chaos. Then by day 4, we're feeling human again. We might reach out to a friend. We might, go for a hike. Day 5, wow, time off is almost over. We've got to go to the grocery store, and boom, we're back. We're back to work. So if you are working in a high stress job, try to take the break when you are experiencing the precursor. Okay. All right, let's go to the next slide. So next, Claudia, I want to talk a little bit about the beauty of what we do. We get to allow clients the opportunity to unpack their trauma and the darkness and the horrible things that have happened to them. That's beautiful that we give them that opportunity. But who is the only other person in the room? It's usually you. And some of what they tell us throughout the course of the day sticks. It clings on to us. That's how human energy works. So I want to demonstrate what this looks like in our lives. We wake up in the morning with our own stuff, our own baggage, our own depression, anxiety, whatever's been handed down to us epigenetically, right? So that is just there when we wake up in the morning. How many of you wake up to the sound of birds singing? The sun casts a ray across your face in bed, and music suddenly starts to play. What? None of you? Okay, not surprised. No, we wake up to, oh my gosh, I'm late. I've got to get my kid to school. I forgot to bake brownies for the thing at the end of the school day. I've got this presentation I have to give. I hate presenting. I've got to do that with all my colleagues. I've got road construction, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to be late to work. Okay, that's how we wake up, usually, right? Then we go to work. And how many of you have to, before your day even starts, have to respond to the 50 emails that came in throughout the day? Yeah, that's how we usually start. And then we might have a client or 2 or 8 that sit in our office and talk to us about their trauma. Okay. And then we might have a friend that calls and tells us about the divorce that they're going through and they need some help. And then we might get reamed out by our supervisor because we didn't get something in on time. And how many of you have roommates, significant others, partners, and children? Probably most of you here. You could add the whole thing on for that, couldn't you? I mean, the stickies just build up. Let's not forget about the world crisis that's going on in several different countries, the political upheaval that we're headed into in 2024. There's still COVID, all of that. And we go home looking like this. And the people that really get us and care about us see this, even if we try to fake it. I remember coming home when my son was little, and I thought I did a brilliant job of faking all of this. And I would say, "Hey, how's your day? How'd your day go? What'd you paint?" And he'd say, "What's wrong, Mommy?" Like he saw it, right? Here's the thing with the work that we do. If you go for a run at the end of your day, lovely, take one of these off. But if you're going to watch the news at the end of the night, put one right back on. Okay, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't watch the news, but I am saying that to the brain, trauma's trauma. Whether we're walking through it ourselves, whether we're hearing a client talk about it, or whether we're opening up our social media feed and seeing the latest image of the latest tragedy in the world. Initially, the same chemicals light up in the brain. The same centers light up, the same chemicals are released. I mean, studies have been shown in brain scans that this looks the same, whether we're living it or whether we're watching it and hearing about it, okay? That's why trauma is trauma, and we're all sort of schlepping around our own versions of our own traumas in our lives. So, what is the remedy for taking these off throughout the day? I don't know if I got them all. Look, if you had an entire day off of work, we know what we would do, right? We would sleep, we'd call a friend, we'd go for a massage, we'd read a book, we'd do the things that we know fill us back up, right? But what if we have 5 seconds? What does self-care look like when you only have 5 seconds? Your client's throwing a chair. You can hear the disruption in the reception area. You've got 2 clients that are going at it with each other and gonna go to blows. What does self-care look like then? Maybe it looks like saying a prayer. Maybe it looks like a deep breath. Maybe it looks like stretching for a minute. The key to doing this work well and keeping our own central nervous system regulated, being the strongest nervous system in the room, is to balance out the stickies throughout the day, okay? How many of you go 6 hours throughout the day and realize you haven't even stopped to pee? You skipped lunch, you haven't had enough water, you just plowed through, okay? Self-care is all the good things, the massages, the workouts, all of that, but it's also the little things to take off a sticky throughout the day. I'm going to take 10 deep breaths before my next session. I'm going to call a friend to talk me off the ledge after this difficult meeting that I just had. I'm going to step away and go outside and walk around the building for a minute, get my central nervous system regulated. That's how you balance out the give and take of the stickies throughout the day. Okay. I have an alert that goes off on my phone 3 times a day. And 3 times a day, a question pops up that asks me, what does self-care look like right now? I need that because I get stuck in the abyss of the work and I go, oh my gosh, yes, what does self-care look like right now? Okay, right now it looks like lighting a candle. It looks like getting a cup of hot tea. It looks like just breathing for a minute. Okay. Next slide, please. I'd like you to draw a circle now or later and make yourself 8 pie slices. And on the outside of each slice, write the things in your life that you value, that get your time, your attention, your focus. Okay, I did this several months ago. I put work, family, sleep, church, exercise, reading, travel, friends. Those are things in my life I value. When you have finished with that, I'd like you to color in each slice to the amount of time and attention and focus you've given that slice over the last 30 days. When I filled this out, I was working a huge amount of hours. So that's why my work slice is filled in about 90%. I do this exercise myself at the end of every month. I have my employees do it once a month. I have my clients do it so that they can see a quick visual of what their inner world looks like. It's tangible, it's quick, it's visual. Clients tend to like that. How many of you in drawing the values wheel have perfectly balanced circles? Anyone? Anyone? Yeah, that's what I thought. Your circle probably looks a lot like mine. Here's the thing. If I don't make an intentional decision to shift this next month, all right, and intentionally start to fill myself up in the areas that I know make me feel regenerized again, right, and restored again, then I will look like this next month. And I will damage my relationships. I will either shut down or I will be in fight mode and be picking at people. I'll do the fight, flight, freeze, faint, fornicate, feed. I'll be in survival mode. And we know in survival mode, we damage relationships. That's why this assessment is important. Okay, next slide, please. All right, just real quick, I'm going to go over this very, very fast. What we know about stress-resistant people, people that know how to manage their stress levels well, is that they have a sense of personal control in their lives. They understand the connection between their actions and how they feel. They pursue personally meaningful tasks outside of their work. Okay. If all that you're doing in your life that's meaningful is your work, you probably need to look at what is outside of your work to fill you up. We're more than just our jobs, right? At the end of the day, what we do is noble, but it is just a job, okay? And if we get to the end of our lives and that's all we've done, we're missing out, okay? So look at other things that are meaningful. Stress-resistant people make healthy lifestyle choices. They look at their nutrition, exercise, water, relaxation. They have social supports, okay, that buffer the hard times on the job. And then they make sure that they put safety and predictability into their lives. For those of you that do work where you're an intake and you don't get to see the end result of something, make sure you're implementing that in your life somewhere else. Okay, you're gardening, you're doing crafts, you're doing things where you get to see a beginning, a middle, and an end. Since you don't get that, you may not get that in the job that you're doing. Okay, next slide. All right, so now we're going to get into some tools. I felt like I needed to mention self-care though, because you are not going to be able to pick these tools unless you are regulated, emotionally regulated yourself. Okay. We can't pick tools and think about, okay, I'm going to use this with this client right now if we're not in our frontal lobe and if we're not emotionally regulated. That's why it has to become a daily, throughout the day practice. All right. So the first tool I want to talk about is assessing human needs. We know we have physical needs, safety, water, food, all of that, shelter. But we also have human emotional needs, and those look like safety, freedom, connection, worth, control, justice, just to name a few. When we are regulated, we can sit back and watch our clients' behaviors and assess what the need is underneath the behavior. I'm of the belief that every human behavior is an expression of need. All right, let me say that again. Every behavior is an expression of need. You being here with me today is an expression of some sort of need that you have. Okay. Your 3-year-old client or 3-year-old child in the grocery store throwing a wall-eyed hissy fit because she cannot have Cocoa Puffs. You told her no. And she's screaming and crying and yelling and banging her head against the floor. What's the need underneath the behavior? Just shout it out, write it in the chat, whatever. What could be the need she's trying to express? Any ideas? We got nothing?
I think control.
Control, great. Great, maybe she wants control. Maybe she wants freedom. Absolutely. What about the 14-year-old who is sneaking out at night to smoke pot with his friends? What's the need? Any ideas? Maybe connection, right? Maybe freedom. Yep, great. Freedom. I see several connection. Yep. What about the parent who's in your office screaming at you that you are worthless and should not be in the job you're doing and only are here for a paycheck? Which is laughable, isn't it? But anyway, what is the need underneath the behavior? Maybe control. Oh, respect. I love it. Worth, maybe. Love, yes. Maybe justice for how they've been treated. Maybe freedom. The point is safety. Absolutely, Lisa. The point is, it doesn't really matter. There's not really a right answer. If you are looking for the need, you are up here. You are in your frontal lobe. You are emotionally regulated, and you're able to identify what it is that your client's showing you they need. Then you can address the need, not the behavior, the need, right? Okay, next slide, please. All right, so we're going to get into some tools. One of the tools that I like to use with a client, this can be, I've done this with children, I've done it with adolescents, I've done it with adults. When I was running facilities, I had each of my employees fill out a trigger cycle. I would like you to fill this out for yourself. I'm going to walk through an example from my own life just to show you how it works. In our brains, we react to something very quickly. This is a slow motion synopsis of what happens in split seconds in our brains, okay? So when we are triggered, there's a sequence of events that occurs. Figure out what your triggers are in the work that you do. Triggers are usually based on our previous experiences. They're based on our beliefs, our values. A trigger for me is silence. Okay. So when I'm speaking and the group is silent, that's a trigger for me. Or when I'm talking to someone individually and they shut down, I get extremely triggered. It's based on my own life. Okay. I had a father who used to punish me for months at a time with silence. And that's why it's a trigger. Next come the physical cues. All right. This is where most people get a little lost. They're like, nope, I just have a trigger and go straight to anger. Well, no, you don't. There's a process that happens. Usually our bodies react to triggers. So for me, I get a clenched jaw. Okay. For some people, it's they tense up their muscles. Some people turn red. Some people have shallow breathing. It's different for everyone. Figure out what your cue is. Next come our thoughts. For me, my thoughts can be pretty dark. I can say things to myself like, oh my gosh, it's silent. I don't have anything good to say. I should just stop speaking altogether and build a house under a rock and never have anything to do with people again. I mean, I just go on and on with this self-deprecating thought, okay? This person must be mad at me. I'm sure I said something stupid, that kind of thing. Thoughts lead to feelings, okay? So for me, I get overwhelmed. I get nervous, maybe agitated. Next come our actions. So for me, I tend to shut down as well and get real quiet myself. And next come the consequences. Okay, for me, the consequence in this scenario is that now neither one of us are talking. Now we're both shut down. Now nothing's getting resolved. Now we're both tense. And that goes against how I want to be in relationships, right? Triggers will probably always be there for you and your clients because, again, they're based in history, your own personal history. Your physical cues will probably always be the same because it's how you're biologically hardwired. But your physical cue is your cue to change your thoughts. So I have clients in the middle of the circle write what their thoughts could be. In the scenario that I'm giving you, my thoughts could be, wait a minute, Sherry, this person is not your dad. Wait a minute, slow down, Sherry. You blurt out everything you think. Some people need a chance to think through what they're going to say. Some people are more reflective and it takes some time. Silence is not a bad thing. When my thoughts become that, I feel differently and I act differently. And of course, the consequences are different. Okay. Again, clients can use this tool when they are regulated. Okay. So I often try to teach my clients how to implement safety for themselves when they're triggered first. Okay. So remember, we can't think about these frontal lobe activities and tools unless we're emotionally regulated ourselves. So I talk to my clients about when you don't feel safe, what's the thing that grounds you again? Is it deep breaths? Is it feeling the sunlight on your skin? Is it tapping out and walking to the other room? You know, when you're about to yell at your kid, is it tapping out and walking away for a few minutes first? I've got one client that grabs 2 ice cubes and holds them in her hand. By the time they're melted, her brain is back online again and she can think. Okay. Got other clients that splash a little water on their face, you know, anything sensory, they get some hot tea, that sort of grounds them, brain's online again, boom, they can do the trigger cycle. All right. And I have my clients take a picture of it on their phone so that they can pull it up and remind themselves of their positive thoughts in a situation. Questions about this tool? It can be very, very helpful in dissecting where a trigger turns into a reaction for someone. Okay, let's go on to the next one then. I'm going to run through these super fast so we get to all of them. This is another version of the trigger cycle. Okay, if you imagine all of us as humans sort of floating around the ocean as an iceberg. Our experiences, our values, our beliefs are at the bottom of the iceberg, okay, at the ocean floor. Then our thoughts, then our feelings, and you'll notice that the waterline goes halfway in the feelings. That is because some of the feelings that we have, we show the outside world, and some of them are under the water. Some of them are under the surface. We only reserve them for people we really trust. Then our actions above the waterline, and then our results, okay? Claudia, can you go to the next slide for me, please? What our clients often come to us wanting help with is the results that they're getting in their life. Well, she's not speaking to me anymore, and she moved out of the bedroom, and now she's sleeping in the spare room, and she won't even talk to me. And when we do talk, all we do is yell at each other, and I can't stand her. I think I want a divorce. Okay, they're focused on the results. When the real clash is happening at the bottom of the ocean floor, that's where both of the icebergs are colliding. If you are colliding with someone in your life or with a particular client, it's probably because you have some trigger, okay? And there's something about this particular person or client that is somehow triggering something in you. That's why I encourage everyone in this field to understand their trigger cycles. Sometimes showing this graphic to clients can help them understand where the real work needs to be. All right. When I work with parents and they're frustrated at their kids, I show them this graphic so that they understand it's not so much that you're angry that they're leaving the house at night to smoke pot with their friends. It's because you're somehow being triggered. You have a value that's different than theirs. So let's focus on that. Okay, questions, comments? Okay, I'll keep going. Next tool, please. Okay, this is one of my favorite tools. MVE is very, very simple. It's something that we all know. We just don't necessarily always practice it, okay? Mirror, validate, and empathize is not a tool that is going to fix anything in your life. It is a tool that will allow the person that you're talking to be heard. It is simply a tool that helps people be seen and heard, okay? I teach my clients this tool so that they can use it in their own lives. I use it with my clients so that they feel like I'm really hearing them. When you're mirroring someone, you are repeating exactly what you're hearing them say, all right? Not what you think they're saying, not your own spin on it, but exactly word for word what they're saying. What I hear you saying is blah, 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 blah. Okay, when you validate, you are saying what makes sense to me about that is blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is the part that often trips people up. I have people tell me, well, I don't want to validate her because she's not right. She's wrong. Validation is not about right or wrong. Okay, you can believe someone is wrong and still validate them. Empathy is saying, I imagine you must feel blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let's run through a scenario of this. While I'm giving you my own personal example of this, I want you to think of your zinger, okay? The thing in your life that somebody said to you, maybe it was a client, that was just like it was just a knife in the heart. It was hurtful. It just burst your heart wide open, okay? Think of the thing that somebody said that really, really cut you to the core. And try to plug it into the script as I go through my example. So I had a client, she actually wasn't a client of mine. I was running a facility several years ago. And I saw her every day. I often saw the kids, said hello, high five, good to see you, that kind of thing. For whatever reason, this particular child hated my guts. And I was used to being called every name in the book. I've been in this career for years. Nothing really phases me anymore. But she knew how to push my buttons. I had not had any long conversations with her at all. So she didn't know anything about me, but she had walked through the hallway and peeked into my office. And she had seen a few things in my office. She'd seen a picture of my son and a couple things like that. Never talked about him, just saw them. At that time in my life, I was feeling very old, very decrepit, very not relevant anymore. I was just going through a hard time. And somehow this child picked up on that. And I walked in one day and she said, I said hello to her and she said, "You're an old bag." She said, "You have no business running a facility. You suck." So I decided to practice MVE. I decided to practice it so that I wouldn't wring her neck. What I said back was, "What I hear you saying is that I'm an old bag and I have no business running a facility and I suck. What makes sense to me about that is I am older and I'm up in your space right now. And I imagine you must feel frustrated." She said, "I don't feel frustrated." She said, "I hate you and I hope your son kills himself." Whoa, that took it to a whole nother level, right? I really wanted to wring her neck now. I took a deep breath. Remember, connection before correction. What I'm hearing you say is that you hope that my son commits suicide. What makes sense to me about that is you want me to be in as much pain as you're in. And I imagine you must feel angry that you're here in this facility. It just kept going. I just kept plugging everything into the script until she was finally able to have a conversation with me. It didn't fix anything. She still hated my guts, but it allowed her to feel heard. Most people will tell you if you're getting the feeling wrong, especially if you work with kids. I imagine you must be feeling lonely. I'm not lonely. I'm pissed off, right? They'll tell you if you're wrong. Okay, what I'm hearing you say is you're pissed off. Okay, and you just keep going with the script. I often, when I do this training for parents, I will have parents ask me, "I have a child that wants to die, that's suicidal. How on earth can I validate that behavior?" Let me ask you, how on earth do you validate that behavior? What I'm hearing you say is you want to kill yourself. And what makes sense to me about that is you want the pain to stop. I imagine you must feel lost, right? Let me, Claudia, can you go to the next slide for me? Let me tell you what this script does, the power of this script. When you are mirroring someone, you are saying to them, "I see you." When you're validating someone, you're saying, I hear you. And when you're empathizing, you're letting a person know, "I'm trying to understand you." And to a client, that equals, "I exist." That's why this tool is so powerful. If you are working with parents who want to change the way they relate to their kids, have them keep this script nearby on their phones, in the kitchen drawer, whatever, and have them carry the script around and just plug it into the script. I've had kids to their parents say, "Don't pull that therapy BS on me." And the parents go, "Okay, what I'm hearing you say is don't pull that therapy BS on me. And what makes sense to me about that is I am trying a new way here, kiddo, and it looks kind of sloppy. I imagine you must be frustrated with me." Right? And they just follow the script. Okay. I have couples work on this script together when things are going well, at the dinner table when things are going well, so that they can use it when things are not going well. Questions about this one? I do encourage you to plug in a couple of your own zingers into this script so that you can start to get familiar with the language. Okay, next tool. We're on a roll. All right, this is one of my all-time favorite tools. I have used this with families, with couples, parents and children. I've used it with employees, teams that are not getting along with each other. I'm doing some mediation right now with a facility here in Colorado. The teams are fighting with each other, and I had them go through this with each other. So it's very, very powerful. Resentments, amendments, appreciations. Let me tell you how it usually works with us as humans. We state our resentment, and then we state our need. So it sounds like this. You never help me with the dishes. I need you to step up and do your part around here. Right? Sound familiar to any of you? The problem with that is the other person feels attacked, so they can't really hear the need. What this tool does is it gives people a language to be able to, and a script, frankly, to be able to put their emotions into words that other people can hear. Okay, it allows a person to soften each time you go through these. So this is how it works. You have maybe let's say you're having an issue with one of your clients. You can do this with them. You would have them write down their resentments towards you. When you tell me that I can't apply for food stamps, I feel angry and humiliated. Okay, you listen to the resentments. You are then able to say your resentments if you have any. Using this script, I tell people to pick 2 feeling words, 3 is ideal. And for a lot of my clients, all they know is mad, glad, and sad. So I will often attach this homework with a list of feeling words so that they have some other options to choose from. Nobody gets to debate anything, all right? One person reads their resentments, the other person reads their resentments, and there is no disagreement or interrupting or anything like that. Then you go straight into amendments. That is when you're saying what you are sorry for. When I yell at you, I feel immature and selfish and stupid. Okay? The other person gets a chance to read their amendments. Then you go into appreciations. When you hug me at the end of the day, I feel loved and warm and cared for. Then you go into loves or likes. Some people like that word better. I like your smile. I like your personality. I love your attention to detail, whatever it is, back and forth again. Then you go into needs. I need you to help me with the dishes a little bit more so it doesn't fall to me every time. This is the most powerful tool that I have used in my career. To watch this is powerful because you see people soften. Their language softens, their body language comes in. They, thanks, Claudia. Their tone softens. They're respectful. And then 2 people can talk about, all right, what do we need from each other and how can we move forward? Super powerful. Questions? Okay. Try to have people plug this into the script. I've got couples that I work with that use this when they're angry, when there's been a fight. They will use this with each other. I also have families and couples that use this once a month. they go out to dinner, and they just read it with each other, just as kind of a check-in. They've gotten super familiar with it, and now they don't need to write it out. Let me look at this question real quick. And I don't think, Claudia, are you able to read the chats for me?
Yes, somebody
you know.
says, can we get copies of this form and the MVE?
Absolutely. 100%.
And another question is, do you find it helpful to have a facilitator, or can this technique be done between folks with limited practice?
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm going to try to look at, okay. Do you find this helpful, facilitator? Can this technique be done between folks with limited, oh, absolutely. So I make sure that I am going over this in detail with people who haven't used it. And then I find that they are able to do it with each other fairly easily. Some people, I'll have them do it in a session with me, and they'll read it, especially if tensions are too high in the house. I'll have them save this until we're all together in a therapy session. But other clients, they do it on their own, because it's pretty self-explanatory once you explain it. I would say this, if you are giving this to, let's say, a family where there is just extreme emotion and chaos and tension in the home, I would facilitate this talk. Because it can go awry. You're bringing up emotions, and if there's not a facilitator there to rein it in, it can go haywire pretty quickly. Hope that
And
answers.
also, I want to ask you something, Sherry, but would you suggest, because, we're going through a lot and, wonderful ways to approach, the issue, but would you suggest that they do it all at once, or it's like, one method depending, like, the first time, maybe you should try this method, the second time, this other method, because it feels like it's a lot, right? So is the suggestion to implement just one way?
With this tool in particular?
Well, in general, all the things you showed to us, if they feel all very powerful, but it's like you wouldn't want to use them all at once,
No, not all at once. That would overwhelm someone.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, remember the wizard playbook, okay, when you're up here, is that you are calm, you are regulated, okay? Your central nervous system is good to go. Now you can pick which tool is best going to serve your client. And it might be, oh, wow, this client could really use a trigger cycle right now. Or, this client and his father are fighting in my office. This might be a good time for resentments amendments. I would say with this tool, you want to use all of them together, right? Because here's what happens. You're angry when you're talking about something you're resentful of, but we soften when we hear an amendment. We soften even more when we hear an appreciation. When somebody tells us what they love about us, we soften even more. Then we can hear the need, okay? So it's powerful to really see that demonstration play out. Okay.
Thank you.
Next, yes, you bet. Next slide. I'm going super fast. Sorry, I just want to get through all of these. This one, for those of you that work with families who have kids that are kind of out of control, feel free to reach out to me on this one. I have written 1,000 behavior contracts in my life, and I have no problem jumping on a call with you, and we can go through this together. Let me give it to you in a nutshell. Again, this is for families, in particular, parents who are struggling with kids at home. I have the parents or the parent. I open up a Google Doc and have the parent start to write down what is expected in the home. Okay. So I expect there to not be any screaming at each other. I expect curfew to be adhered to, blah, 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 blah. They start to write all that down. And I tell them that I want them to leave room for negotiation. All right. So if they want their child home at 9 p.m., I'm going to tell them to write 8 p.m. in this document, okay? I'll explain that in just a little bit. I have them write, what are the rewards for following this contract? What are the consequences? They write all that out, okay? Then I have them give it to the child, the kid, and give them editing privileges, okay? So that the kid, or commenting privileges, so that the kid can comment on what's been written. This is where the kid gets to write what they expect of the parent, all right? I make sure that this is a family system contract. This is not about, kid, you need to improve your behavior, because that is part of what creates an identified client, right? And the identified patient who's the problem. And if they change, everything will change. No, no, no. This is a whole system issue, and the whole system needs to look at themselves, okay? So the kid gets a chance to say what they expect of the parent. I expect that you don't yell at me when you're angry. I expect that you put down your phone during dinner, since you always tell me to, okay? Then we come together and talk about it. This is where inevitably the kid will say something like, what? 8 o'clock curfew? That is bull. Are you kidding me? You're the only parent on the face of the earth that expects their kid to be home at 8. That's bullshit. I'm not doing that. I have coached the parent ahead of time to say the following. That is not how we negotiate in this family. If you have a respectful, compelling reason why you should stay out later, I will hear it. Fine. All my friends stay out later. I think I should get a better curfew. I want to stay out till 10. Kiddo, we're not willing to do 10 because trust is earned. This is a contract we'll look at and assess weekly and can change. Right now, you said that in a respectful way. I tell you what, we're willing to do 9 o'clock curfew. Okay, 9 is what they wanted in the first place, but you have just taught your child how to negotiate and speak respectfully, okay? You're using, the parents using language about what they're willing to allow and what they're not willing to allow, and then they spell out red, yellow, and green behaviors. So red behaviors in this household is that none of us are doing what we said we were going to do. And we probably need more therapy, or we need, to get ourselves into a group therapy session or something like that. Red behaviors, everybody's following what they said they would do, and we're going to plan a family vacation together. That's how the behavior contract works. It can be very, very powerful with families. If you want more on that or want to brainstorm something, give me a call later, shoot me an email, whatever. All right, let's get to one more tool. Love and logic. Love and logic can be used with children, adolescents, and adults. In love and logic, you are handing back the problem to a client. Okay, when you hand back the problem to a client, you are sending a message that I believe in you to manage your own life. I'm here to brainstorm, but I believe in you to fix this. So it sounds like this. Oh, wow. What's your plan? That sounds rough. What's your plan? Well, I don't know what my plan is. Well, let me know if you want to brainstorm. Let me know. I'm here for that. But I also believe in you to fix this. Okay, so you hand back the problem. And I think sometimes we can be helicopter parents. We can try to micromanage our clients. We can try to, we're fixers, right? We're fixers in this field. It's part of what makes us good. This one's hard for people like us because this requires us not to fix it, but to hand back the problem. Okay, the next love and logic technique is just the one word answer. When you are being screamed at, all right, and I teach my parents this tool as well, you answer with, okay, I know. Maybe so. Bummer. And that is it. Okay. This is hard for parents sometimes, the parents that I work with, because they like to engage in a power struggle. This keeps the power struggle at bay. All right. Now it's all in the tone. If you are hearing a kid cuss you out and you say, bummer, that's not going to work. That's going to elicit a power struggle. But to say kindly and compassionately, you're not, it's sending a message that I will not engage in a power struggle with you. Giving choices is a tool that I think our clients need to learn. I often give my clients choices. When I was running facilities, I would say things like, I miss you attending group. I know you want to stay in your room. But because you're staying in your room, none of us get to hear the brilliance and the wisdom that you have. I hope you'll decide to join group. I'll tell you what, you can take 15 minutes to decide or 5 minutes to decide. Oftentimes the clients would say, fine, I'll take 5 minutes. And I thought, wow, I gave them a choice, 5 or 15. They chose 5. That's awesome. This really does work. So giving choices. Also teaching the skill of the redo. Okay. The redo is a skill I teach my clients quite a bit. And I'm going to make this fast because I know I'm running out of time. But you're simply teaching a client how to redo a situation. All right. Remember, you may have to show your clients what a redo looks like. So it sounds like this. Hey, look, how you yelled at her in the office today isn't kind and could get you in some big trouble. I'm going to redo this conversation with her. I want you to watch, and then I'd like you to redo it with her. Okay. Remember, our clients need more than us just telling them how it should look. We often need to show them how it looks and then have them practice how it looks. That's how you build in a new neural pathway in the brain and start a new habit. Okay. So the redo can be powerful. Next slide, please. We're almost done. Oh, keep going. We already went over that one. I want to end by saying this. I've got a billion more tools, but don't have time for that today. Hopefully I can come back and do this talk again. This work is hard. All right. We said that last time. It will be important for you to figure out your key, your gifting. What makes you good in this work? Okay. Then where did it come from? I mean, for me, you all heard my mom's story last time. For me, my gift came from her. I wanted to be able to work with children in a way that she never got to experience. Figure out who this work is for and why. My work, my entire career has been teaching people how to do this work well and working with clients in a way that lets them feel self-respect. And then finally, how does this work heal you? Because it does. The work we do can heal our clients. It can also heal us. When things get rough in this work, fall back on these answers. That's how you keep going. Claudia, can you show my contact information so that people can reach out to me? Oh, we wrote a book called Which Way. It's on Amazon. Here's my contact information if you want to reach out to me. Mom and I do talks all over the country on trauma. I also do talks with leaders and teams in terms of how to develop healthy culture, workplace culture, and healthy team environments. If I can be of service to you or your teams, please reach out. Thank you for being here today. It's been a real honor to get to speak with you. I'll hang on
Thank you
if you have
so
any
much,
questions.
Shari. Yes, and I want to say, in case you don't want to write down the information, I'm happy to connect you with Shari. And thank you so much. This was very, very powerful. And yes, a lot of really useful information. Somebody has any questions? We're still here.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
I just want to tell you thank you. I'm on vacation, so I didn't talk much.